Yeah, yourself?
Very well. I really appreciate you coming down, man.
Thanks for saying.
It's been a while. What's been going on?
Today, I got up. I had a cold shower, and
The Wim Hof.
the Wim Hof technique,
Yeah.
and that definitely woke me up. And just came here focused in on this talk that we're going to have today. No, I had an audition early on in the week. That was good.
Can you say what it was for?
Yeah, it's cool. For a film in the States called The Power of the Dog.
Yeah. Okay.
And playing a cowboy, and I really enjoyed it actually.
That's pretty awesome. And full cowboy dialect, the whole bit. Or
US accent.
General, or did you get to do the Southern type Texan thing?
Just a general US.
Oh, they want a general. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's a bit of that happening.
Yeah.
Where it's like probably get you to do a cowboy accent on the day, but just as a starting point, let's just get everyone in general. A mate of mine auditioned for something in New Zealand for Amazon or something like that, and it was, I forget what it was called. It wasn't for the Paradog, but
I think I auditioned the same thing.
Right, and it was a
TV
bunch.
show.
Yes, yeah, a bunch of rich stud owners.
Sci-fi set in the future.
No. This one was like they were a ranch owners, and they inherited a whole bunch of money, and he was to play like a cowhand, I think they called it, but it was all super Texan sort of ranger type thing, but they all wanted it in general. But the language in it really pulls you into wanting to say it the other way. So it was tricky.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, true. But I think you can always draw the US accent out if you want to.
Yeah, okay.
I think they can see that you can do some sort of accent and they can work at it, get a dialect coach in or...
Yeah, well, which is the interesting thing, because when you go and talk to your coach or whatever, you're trying to do... Well, my big problem when I'm trying to do general American is she's like, Southern. You're dragging the vowels like you would in Australian, which when you is in an American makes it sound Southern. So that was the real hard one for me to work out.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. And tell me about your projects, because when we last spoke, I had a look at your script, and forgive me for it.
Atma?
Yes. Yeah. What's been happening with that?
Yeah, so I've been busy rewriting that film. Yeah, it's a long process, this one, but it's, to be honest, I feel really, really good where it's gone, where it is at the moment. Some things just take time, but this has taken a long time. That specific script has gone on a journey, because originally it was written for India, and then an investor came in and said, "Oh, why don't you rechange it, reshuffle it, and rewrite it for South America?" So I rewrote that film for South America.
Which involves a whole ton of research as well for places and names and
everything.
Everything, yeah.
So it took 2 years, 3 years for that to orchestrate, and then that guy ended up being maybe a fraudulent,
a criminal, right?
Criminal or a liar of some description. And so I've now, and I wasn't ever comfortable with that story. Always, because I wrote it maybe 10 drafts. The South American concept behind it, and it never felt right.
Right.
So I've gone back to India, and it's feeling a lot better, and it is taking a lot longer than I expected. This draft, I've been at it for 4 months. This draft, but I feel like it's just, I don't know. I'm very comfortable in it. And I just got to work out the ending a bit. That late in the second act.
Is that
resolution type of jazz?
Is that when you say you've been at it for 4 months, is that sort of thing where you're like, I know what needs to happen, but I don't? You try 20 different directions and you're like, but they're still not taking me to this place that I have to. And sometimes you find that maybe you're a little like holding on to that end point a little hard, but sometimes you have to, because you know that end point is gonna rock.
Yeah. If
you can get your audience there and through the story. Yeah, that's I found that myself when with the park. is I wrote backwards. I knew how I wanted it to end.
Yeah.
Had to have it end like that because
Yeah.
just you have to create what you would want to see. Yeah. And then, but so many sticking points where I'm like, if I write this to make that happen this way, that's going to sound insane. That's never going to work, you know? So, and you can sit there for ages. Go, how? A lot of the time, which my wife was really great for this, it was more tactical stuff because there's a military element and it was, I don't know how to write the action on this big sequence. So we would draw it on a whiteboard just as like they might plan little like soldiers on a map or whatever.
Yes, yeah.
And that really, really helped. Because, okay, cool, because then I can see if it comes in this way. That makes sense for that to happen.
Yeah.
But just trying to write that, nightmare.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot of it's about
Mike.
I've been writing now for maybe 8 years, 10 years.
Wow.
10 years, 12 years. Screenplays. Before that, poetry and music. And now screenplays is the major concentration with writing. But I think you've over time you experiment with things and you find out your technique or how maybe not so much the quicker way of doing things, but
more effective,
more time effective.
Yeah.
And that takes a bit of practice over time. And I feel now where I'm at is and it's always like a process, over those 10 years, it's been a great learning curve for me. Not just how that can amplify my acting and also direction and things like that, but the writing, it's just opened up a whole new avenue for me. Like, I'm so interested in other projects and writing them now. I'm going to offer a lot more to projects, even in acting. If I'm looking at something, writing, sometimes people would, might be a bit personal with it and look at you and say, oh, who's this guy telling me what to do? But in the end, it's not about me. It's not about him. It's about the story and the what's best for the story. And that's how I always look at anything these days that I do. Is what is the best for the story.
I think you have to. And I think people lose sight of that, like you say, when they get a little protective or what have you. And you're like, I'm not trying to be a dick or anything, but I'm your actor for this role. And right now, the way that I'm saying this and the way that I see it happening, it just doesn't make sense, dude.
Yeah.
You wait till you see it, it's going to fall apart.
Yeah.
So let's work it out, you know, and it's, in my limited experience, I'm probably at 50-50 with people who want to entertain that or the other 50 tell you to fuck off.
Yeah.
They
will.
And then you see it and you're like, it doesn't make any sense. I fucking told you. And it can be really hard to see. And you become like, I did a table read for my feature film the other day, and everyone's sitting around. We've got 10 people in here, all reading the parts, and I wanted them to be as involved as possible and give me some feedback and what have you, because that was the whole point of it. But one of my mates, and I loved that he came along because he's super, super knowledgeable in writing. He's like, I really feel like you, and I won't go into specifics, I want to leave that part off the table, but I really feel like I disengaged here for the rest of this whole section. But that section, and I appreciated him saying it, that whole section is where I started and where I have to have it end. So you're sort of like, I really get what you're trying to say, and I love that you're giving me this feedback, but also there's that moment where you go, I'm going to stick with this. Yeah. And that's a tough thing to navigate too, especially when you're not a fucking seasoned pro, you're not Tarantino or whatever the fuck. Sure. You're just navigating it for the first time as well. Are you blinded by your own shit, or are these people right? And there's a tendency when people are asked for advice to just give you everything that's wrong with it before they give you what they like about it, or and maybe it is crap.
But look, I think in art there's no right or wrong, and I think it's just about he may give you an idea. He might plant a new seed in you, not just for that section, maybe down like for something else.
You're 100% right. Yeah.
Maybe it's dismissed as well. It doesn't, like, if it's thrown out there.
It's all good to have.
In this space, it could work, it may not. Do you know what I mean? But in the end, someone does have to have the vision as well and stay strong with that. and you specifically for the writer, and you can see where where it's going or what you want to express within the story. I don't know. Sometimes you can't even see it as well. You're so consumed in it all, and so that's why, what you're saying, even to read through things like this, you can hear it. You start seeing things that you never have saw before.
Now you've got, and I agree, 100%.
Yeah.
The community testing, as it were, is super valuable, and you also have to be I think you have to be pretty strategic with who you pass your little baby onto as well.
True.
So that you can trust the opinion coming through as well. Yeah. Now you said you've got a bunch of things that you're working on.
Yep. Yes.
Tell me about the others.
So the other story is, look, it's a working title at the moment, and so that's story is based on William Buckley. I don't know if you know William Buckley, but the guy spent 32 years with the Aboriginals back in the early 1800s. So he escaped Sorrento, first settlement in Victoria, on Boxing Day, and ended up Port Phillip Bay with 4 other guys. But the 4 other guys wanted to turn back. Food was a problem, and avoiding the Aboriginals. Anyway, he said, "No, I'm never going back." He stayed along Port Phillip, but once again, food was an issue. And then luckily, he found a spear, an Aboriginal spear. Started using that spear for food. And then one day he went to a watering hole and still avoiding the Aboriginals. And at the watering hole, the Aboriginals surrounded him. And instead of killing him, they started celebrating and all these things because the spear that he had was from an Aboriginal shaman from their tribe, from the burial ground. And they believed in Aboriginal mythology that he came back as a white person, as a ghost. And so they accepted him into the tribe and looked after him for 30 years. And then he had a couple of wives, kids, fought with them, and all that jazz. And then
both having fucking mic issues over here.
Yeah. And then that's all right. That's bound to happen. But then and then he got wind of John Batman and the Port Phillip Trust Group had come to land, and he was one of the interpreters for the land deal of the Aboriginals and the creation of Melbourne, or Batmania. That's one film. There's another one.
Yeah, sort your mic out for 2 seconds. I'll sort my mic out and then we'll pick up.
Yeah.
How's that? Yours all right?
Yeah.
Mine just keeps wanting to slip down like this. Let me see if I can just put it where it wants to be naturally. One of the joys. Let's see if that's going to stay. You don't have that. Now, what's the process? Is because that's a real story. Do you have to go through a whole show to get that, any kind of rights or what have you, to be able to do that? Or
no, you don't, open? Because it's over 60 years copyright. You can use whatever material and create your own wisdom around it, or whatever you want to do. But I'm doing a lot of research. I still have to do a lot of research and interview a lot of Aboriginals. And there was an art exhibition on William Buckley recently, and they know a lot of his story, and I want to get close to the truth as possible with that. And I think biopic, to me, I was even speaking to a teacher today while I was Uber driving, and she's on the way to the airport, and she's a drama teacher. And I was speaking, always just
you've got to have the
conversation.
Yeah, I think I told you I was an Uber driver for six to 7 months, and otherwise. But you learn to pick and choose who you embark on a conversation with as well.
Yeah, true. And I think, like, for me personally, I want to make up some stories that I've whatever, and make them into feature films. Whatever I'm trying to, I suppose, nurture within and express some sort of theme that I'm discussing within. But then I have got a very eager interest in history and biopics, and I think it's essential also for education and things like this in the future. And it really annoys me when people make comments about say, for example, Aboriginals, and they don't know the history.
Yeah, no idea.
They have no idea about what happened or the significance around this date or that
Mm-hmm.
and that annoys me. So I want to do something about that, tell stories that have strong history marks on them and can educate people a bit more so we can make sort of more invaluable sort of, progress as society. Somewhere.
I think it's massive, and we in Australia are pushing closer and closer to like Americans who have no fucking idea about anything outside of America, let alone what's actually happened in America, and all this kind of doctoring of textbooks and all this kind of stuff. And I have Aboriginal cousins. I have stayed in Aboriginal. Forget we don't call them. What's the word that we use for the tribes out in the bush?
Yeah.
What are they? What? It's not a reservation. We don't call it a reservation, do we? What do we call it? There's a word for it. It just escapes me at the moment.
Group of people. So you start with a group of people, and then
there's
tribe,
they're villages or whatever that are out in the desert.
Communities.
Oh, that's not a reservation. Fuck.
Like a community.
It's like a community, and they're like alcohol-free communities that are kind of cornered off and what have you. My dad was a counselor for ATSIC back in the day, so I've had huge exposure. I've worked with Aboriginal teams on mining exploration sites, and I still would never claim to be a full bottle about what has happened and transpired, and there's still never even heard of this guy.
Yeah.
And so that's super fascinating. And there is, like you said, there's a lot of people who just go, nah, because maybe they had a bad experience in the city or whatever. I mean, I've had bad experiences too, but there's a whole separation between, city, just the different influences and how they present themselves in everyday life.
Well, yeah, that's how are we here right now? Where did we? Australia's history is still very young. It's only 200 years. And
in terms of white influence,
white influence, and with it, they're still trying to work this out. And I think there's more acceptance and there's more awareness coming through at the moment. Good thing. It's positive because their beliefs and mythologies are, the more I think Western society wants to get away from those things, I think the more we're coming back to it as well, which is relation to the environment, connection to the land, all these things, food, respect with animals, veganism,
some
all these
kind of harmony.
Things. There's something in that, but even fires, Aboriginals say that you should burn off certain forests after 10 years or on a 10-year mark. But this doesn't happen, and then there's big fires. I wonder why there's fires. All this land is, dry and etc. But having a fire replenishes the system. It creates, as the environment changes over time, and with a global warming, then the environment will react and grow differently. All these things,
which they've known about since forever.
Yeah.
Did you see recently that ancient site? Now I want to say Northern Territory, but that could be it could be the north of Western Australia. I'm not 100% sure, but the elder Aboriginal woman opened it up to an international team that came in, and it now pushes back their timeline another 30,000 years, and it's this giant elevated rock platform that they have elevated like 100,000 years ago.
Yeah,
and we're talking about a rock platform the size of this block. That's huge. But somehow they've incrementally slid discs under and elevated more, and they're sitting under this like 2 meters deep. If you were to take like the bedrock and just elevate it, and they're sitting under this thing which totally blows out our timeline, which they've known about this whole time, and they've just finally let the team come in and check it out, and they're like, huh? Are you aware of a fella called Graham Hancock? Right. So I don't know how to say it, Göbekli Tepe. which he's got this whole theory of a lost civilization around 10,000 BC or something like that, and that all ties in. I think it's super, super fascinating. And even the Netflix documentary with
Joseph Campbell.
No, David Attenborough, when he goes to the Barrier Reef.
Yeah.
And they witnessed the flooding
Right.
of that basin.
Okay.
And they've got all these songs and artwork that show all that water coming in.
Through Aboriginal stories.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That they remember being able to walk out to where the Great Barrier Reef is now when it was land. And then it happened really quickly, and that's why the Great Barrier Reef is what it is.
Yeah.
And they witnessed it.
Yeah.
Which is nuts.
That's right. But this is where, so if you look at storytelling, this is where it began. Began on caves, painting, art, to send a message to the people in the future, and we have these films at the moment. And if I look at the films that are being made and the successful films, you don't know whether they're the right stories for the future.
Yeah, right.
As well. But I think that's why it's important. But even stats say that's a biopic that is, I think it's 200 years or around that mark. A new biopic is more successful than an older biopic. So, maybe 1400s or something like that wouldn't work as well as a new biopic. People relate differently to the recent history than older history.
Yeah, okay. When you say recent history, how do you mean? Like, give me an example.
Well, for example, a William Buckley story would be a recent story, or another project I'm potentially acting in is on John Peter Russell, which is also set in the 1800s. And that's almost like an older biopic as well. And he's got a remarkable story, that guy. John Peter Russell is an impressionist painter who studied with Van Gogh, and he's also a bare knuckle fighter or world champion.
From where?
New South Wales.
Get out.
Yeah. So
how did he study with? How the fuck did he get it?
Well, he ended up. He's got an amazing story where he traveled. His father died, and he got a little bit of inheritance, and he went to study in London. Can't remember exactly what he was studying, but I think he's more involved. No, he was setting up a business for his father. They were in engineering or metal, something like this, distributing to Australia from London. But he was bare knuckle fighter there, and he won the world championship. But then after he won in the world championship, he quit, and he was always drawing, painting a bit on the side. And no, I don't want to do this anymore. Went to Caumont in France, studied with Van Gogh, became really good friends with Rodin, married. So Rodin sculpted a lady called Marianne. He had a Italian. So John Peter Russell ended up having an Italian wife. That girl, this famous model, had 10 kids with her or something. 5 died.
Jesus.
Wanted to set up an artist colony in Belle Isle, which is a French island. And he's got a real amazing story because he lost 5 kids, and then I think Van Gogh, however you want to pronounce it, wherever you are.
Yeah.
He died, and then his wife died. So he had like 3 deaths in a relatively quick time.
Jesus.
And he burnt all his paintings and pretty much sent his other kids off to private school. And he was also a really good builder, and he had a yacht, jumped in a yacht, traveled around the world, back in Sydney. Amazing story. He's got a really amazing story.
And this is something you would like to write about, or
no? That's already been written,
not
by me. I've been asked to potentially act in it, but it all comes down to one of those things. Or can you get Liam Hemsworth compared to me, a no-name investment in? That's where it's at. They really want me to do it because I fit the role. All these jazz, and the strange thing is, like, I remember them ringing up me and saying, about, Liam Hemsworth or the investment, they really want me to do it and all this jazz. And I just finished reading The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
You're like, whatever.
No,
Yeah.
but it's more sort of like, you know what? I said, I don't really need the role to be, look, I really want to play the role. I said to them, and I'm really intrigued by this character, but I don't need that approval from you guys. And that's where I'm sort of at in my career. I don't need approval for you to say that I should play it. I can do my own research on this guy and become him in my own little way,
Mm-hmm.
you know, without performing him in a film. And, you know, just by reading his biography or diving into impressionism, painting more, I can draw upon that and get things out of that. Yes, not as much as living it physically through an acting performance,
Mm-hmm.
but I can still spiritually
Mm-hmm.
gain a lot from that. And that's what I said to them. I said, I don't care about this competition shit, because in the end, I'm just intrigued by him.
Yeah.
His story.
And that's not going to change.
And who he is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah. But I'll take the role if you send it
I'll
my
take
way.
the role. Yeah. I'll take it. Yeah, I got to front for a little bit.
Yeah. Cool. And you know, travel around the world. Awesome. That's I can't believe I've never even heard of this guy. That's an incredible story.
He's got an incredible story, and that's because he's painting recognised. But he's got a famous portrait of Van Gogh in Amsterdam.
Okay.
One of his most famous portraits.
In the Van Gogh Museum, or
I think so, yeah.
I've probably walked past it, but that's crazy. I must confess to when I studied art history at I don't know what you guys call it here. I don't think you call it TAFE, but in Western Australia we have TAFE.
Yeah.
It is the same. I wasn't sure if it was just a Western Australian thing, and you guys had a different name for it, because I know you call your end of year exams something different.
Right.
Start school a year earlier in Western Australia. Anyways, and man, I fucking fall asleep in art history. I fucking hated it. I just didn't give a fuck about what all these other people did or what unartistic people's speculation on someone they'd never met was thinking at that time when they painted it. Yeah. You would never fucking clue, man. He was most likely high and just channeling. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't because he was walking down the street at that time that he used to hang out a lot and a cat died and then he was fucked up about it, so he went and painted this thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just think sometimes you just have the idea. You don't know where it's come from and you just lay it down and it's pretty awesome. You go, oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's come from me somehow. But can I make a direct parallel to what's happening in my life at the moment? I don't know. You know, I know that some people, everyone's got their own process and they draw on things differently. I've never been really able to pinpoint for myself any direct inspiration other than, I would say, the park, which I'm working on at the moment, is directly influenced by Joe Rogan's podcast and listening to animal conservationist people talk about what's happening with rhino poaching in the world. And then at the same time, working with a fella who was in Iraq and is now a real estate agent here, and saying to me, we were talking about the anti-poaching units and him saying that he nearly went and did that when he left Iraq. And he just sort of said, no, I feel like I have to come home and spend my time at home. But he was this close. But that was back in the day when they were making really good money out of it. They used to make like $200,000 a year for the elite parks. But all that money dried up. So
what's your next concept? Like with the park, so you got obviously drafting, and so how are you attempting to raise finance through it all? So
this is I've got a friend of mine, and I won't drop any names or anything like that, but she said when it's tight, send it to me. She's best friends with someone who's just written and the feature film is circulating right now, Australian film. She said, I'm happy to put it in front of her, and I know that she'll give it the look over. Right. That's pretty much the next step, to just get some professional feedback from someone who can make it or not. Do you know what I mean? And say, I think you're really onto something here. Or no, this is a pile of shit, buddy. You should maybe consider not writing anymore. You know?
Or no, we'll just rework it.
Yeah. Like, but that's what I mean. You've got a great idea, another 7 drafts and you might be there. Or, hey, this is actually really, really tight. if you want me to do it, I reckon I would probably. That's what ultimately I would love to happen.
Mm.
Is someone go, this is so in line where it needs to be.
Mm.
I can tell that this is your first attempt, so I want to be involved. Can I tighten it up here, here, and here? I would love that. Failing that, the next step will be to just, I don't know, crowdfund enough to make a proof of concept. And that will be, I think, because, and this sounds bad, but it is the truth, because it is such a poignant issue that it would be, I'm not going to say easy to crowdfund, but they do have a lot more legs when it's something that might help in some way, as opposed to a horror.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which horrors are great and everything.
Yeah.
But doesn't have any kind of poignancy or political timing or anything like that. You know, that might.
There's a charity, there's foundations set up around all this.
There's tons.
Yeah.
There's tons. So once I feel like I've been given the all clear on the script as an almost finished product, then I'll go and speak to Vetpor, hopefully. There's another guy called Timothy Sykes, and he's like this massive day trader type dude.
Yeah.
And he teaches people how to, day trade on the stock market and what have you. And he's pretty prolific, but he's been out there a lot.
Yeah.
And this is a really interesting thing about this guy. He's got a organization that teaches people how to trade, right? And he day trades himself. He doesn't, and he charges like a lot of money to teach you how to day trade. And all of the money that he makes from that school goes to his charitable organization called Kamigawa.
Okay.
100%.
Right.
All goes into this charity.
Yeah.
Everything that he makes for himself, he makes from his own day trading.
Yeah.
He's the most successful day trader in history, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So he goes, you look at his Kamigawa site, he's traveling the world, injecting cash here and there and what have you. But the rhinos has been one of his big investments. And I watched a great video that he and another fella who's like a Instagram influencer dude went out and made a 10-minute documentary about what's happening over there, specifically with Vetpor. So he's an inroad there too. I've sort of had some loose contact with him on Instagram.
Yep.
I would like to get that script to the two of them.
Right.
But you're starting to see more and more of these stories pop up.
Yeah.
I like to think that there's a spin on mine that I haven't seen yet.
Yep.
A lot of them are very they're either just hardcore documentaries about what's actually happening and pretty brutal.
Yes.
Or the one, Sides of a Horn, which looks really, really interesting and I haven't watched yet, is from the perspective of the poacher and why they're doing it, I imagine, and what their life is like. And which is what I cover in the park, is the duality of it, that they're just farmers, who can't provide. And someone says, well, here's 20 grand. If you go and do this, your kids will go to school and you'll eat and have TV and all this kind of stuff. Right. And they do it 100%.
Yeah.
So there's a long answer to your question. That's the next step. And I haven't touched it since the all the feedback from the table read. I've got about 7 scripts with people's notes in it to sort of collate all of that, sift through and put all that information into. Yeah. What's next for you?
What's the next project?
Yeah, you were saying to me before you had some different projects that you wanted to talk to me about. I thought this might be a good place to chat about those.
Yeah, I'm always thinking about projects. There's more. It was more the William Buckley story. Getting you involved in that one.
Would you play him?
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's 6'5", the guy.
Yeah, right. What are you, 6'5"?
Wanted to play 6'4", 5. Yeah. Around that. So yeah, I could definitely play him, and I suppose that's why first of all I looked at the story, looking at characters I could play.
Right. That first point of contact. Isn't anyone going to believe me as this character just visually?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good.
I've got a lot of Aboriginal friends as well. I grew up with a lot of Aboriginals, so
it's close to your heart as well.
I have a bit of a connection.
Yeah.
To that side of things. I used to think I was Aboriginal.
My dad was convinced that we had Aboriginal heritage.
I'm not. I think I just want to be.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He went down this huge ancestry because there's a family connection of ours way back, like mid to late 1800s, and picture of him, and he looks like an Aboriginal.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But he could never make it concrete. You know, for whatever reason why he wanted to.
Done the DNA.
It would explain the skinny legs, and my grandfather was incredibly athletic, like just
Why do you think Aboriginals got skinny legs?
They do.
Why?
Why? Is there is someone done a study? I have no fucking idea.
I've got pretty skinny legs.
Yeah,
as well.
I've chicken legs. My granddad, my dad, the whole show, we're all super skinny through there.
Something. I don't know why.
Well, I don't know. One of the things that I find really fascinating, which I wonder, has anyone done any neurological research into, is why for so long, what is specific about, and it seems to be in the darker native tribes and what have you throughout the world, what was the neurological difference as to why they were able to establish an equilibrium and we weren't?
An equilibrium
with their surroundings. They were still inventive and innovative and what have you, but they were able for 100,000 years to not fuck up their surroundings. And we did it in 1,000.
Yeah.
You know, like if you think about it.
Well, I don't know, maybe population growth.
And why not? Why was their population growth
back then
not like ours? You know, why did they not spread and consume? What was the difference? Because I just think they were a hell of a lot more connected and intuitively knew that they would fuck the place up if they went that way. I don't know. It's interesting. Is it as simple as an enzyme, or do you know what I mean? Like I'm using words I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but do you know what I mean? They trace sort of genealogy and what have you. That there must be a definitive thing that separates the way that we came into the world and the way that they came into the world.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I suppose it's just like, I'm not that familiar. I suppose like they say from Africa or in Australia, the Aboriginals came from India, I believe. Somehow they're like part Indian. That they walked to their different places, environments, or whatever, and they started creating their surroundings in those environments. And the reason why they speak different languages is because of the environment. They did research on two birds, put a bird in the country, bird in the city, both chirp differently.
Because the environment stimulates, influences the gene.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really fascinating. We were talking about a fella before, Bruce Lipton.
Right.
And Bruce Lipton is sort of, my understanding is he's the sort of at the leading, he was one of the pioneers of stem cell research. And whilst he was doing that research, he found that if he took the same gene, split it into 3 petri dishes and stimulated it 3 different ways, you get 3 different reactions. So then he is now the sort of father of epigenetics, which is now a full study and PhD in epigenetics, saying that the environment stimulates the gene, which would give credence to that. That would be exactly what's happening there.
Yeah.
Which is super fascinating, which means that maybe I can have bulky calf muscles if I stimulate the gene differently and don't believe the narrative that, my genes just dictated that I'm going to have skinny fucking legs.
Yeah, man. You can do what you want these days.
That's what they say.
Take some needles. You can take tablets or
meditate. Yeah. And just
meditate about your calves.
Manifest. Yeah.
And you end up bike riding.
Hey, tell me about your short film from last year.
Oh, yes. It's called Spot Wind.
Spot Wind, yeah, because that was a quite personal one to you, right?
Yeah. So it's all about. So my father passed away in an accident 4 years ago, and I always wanted to make a film on the island or Phillip Island, and so the short film is a lot about an accidental death, and also, I suppose, intuition of human beings. So I remember my father coming to me a few months prior dying, and he had a tear in his eye, and he's like looked me in the eye, and he's like, "Oh, if I die, this is what you have to do." And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, of course, I'll do anything for your dad,
What do you want?
whatever you want.
Mm.
And then, yeah, I don't know whether you had intuition around that because it was an accident, but I think when you get a bit older, you start thinking about different things as well. Your friends might start dropping off.
I just got the email from my mum last night.
Yeah.
She always gets shaky before a flight. And so the email was like, I've got a flight coming up and I want to put in writing some will changes. And, because now Erica and I are having a baby, as you know.
Yes, yeah.
It's real good. We found out it's going to be a girl the other day.
Oh, congrats. Bro.
Yeah, cheers. And my mum has 3 nephews.
Okay.
And she's like, you better fucking have a girl. Because I need a fucking girl before I time out. And she was hammering so hard for it to be a girl, and that's why she's like, okay, so the will change now has to include a girl.
Yes.
And because they wouldn't write a will for a child that didn't exist yet, but you can be pregnant and then you can alter the will. So she's like, I've got a flight coming, and I get a little funny before flights, and so I'm just putting this out there now in writing. So yeah, they do. Both my parents are. My mum's almost 70. My dad's 73. You start to get those emails and calls where they're it's fucking brutal.
Yeah, it is brutal. And so and then when my father died, we were sitting around with my brothers, 3 brothers around a fire, very upset with the shock of everything. And it's funny when you're in that state, just through reflection right now, that often the truth is very easily accessible,
right?
So vulnerable. And so they explained, my other brothers explained that my father also said something to them, but different things.
Right.
Such a funny thing. And then
relevant to the different connections that he has with his sons?
Different things to do if this happens.
Okay. And tasks to delegate.
So he's still delegating when he passed away. But and then I saw my nan. I haven't had a FaceTime with my nan this morning because she's in hospital. She's 94.
Whoa.
And I see her there. She's got dementia. And you see her there. And I couldn't help. But after it, I just started, crying. I was like, there was nothing really. It was more the concept of life. Do you know what I mean? It's so delicate and can change very quickly, and it moves quickly and all these things. And I also noticed her one day. She was looking out to, this is maybe a couple of months ago, and she's just looking out. And I was watching it. I didn't say anything. I watched her. I didn't know what she was looking at. So what is she looking at? And she wasn't looking at really anything.
Right.
But I was thinking to myself, maybe she's looking at
the other side.
Life.
Past life.
The light coming through, or
right.
They talk about consciousness levels, where you have at the start is a lot in you. When you're born, you're in the unconscious mind, and then there's 4 stages, and the second and third stage is you're more conscious, you're more in reality of existence, and you know who you are. And then the 4th stage is when you stream back to the unconscious mind more, and that's more present in how you're feeling or where it's all going, and then you're drifting off to where maybe the afterlife or whatever that is to people, reincarnation or
back into the simulation.
Yeah, back into it. Or and there's, I suppose, like the short film was discussing a lot of those things. So it's quite personal for me. One about an accident happening, but also human intuition and awareness.
And hectic to make it too, I imagine.
Pardon?
Hectic to make.
Yeah, it's difficult to make. It wasn't too bad, to be honest.
That's cool.
It was hard because I was directing and acting. I found that easier. That was the second time I've done that. It was a lot easier to do it this time. But it was more, I think, the producing side of things. I needed maybe another producer on hand to organise the troops in some way.
Yeah.
Because when you're trying to prepare for the acting part, and then you can prepare, first of all, the directing part, then you got to get ready to act, jump in the scene.
It's too much. It's too much.
A lot, and then the producing and just more pushing the production on. Especially a short film, you got to make it bigger. Everybody's dedicating a lot of free time. And
yes, they are. Yeah,
you got to keep it moving.
100%. I think as you've been privy to some of the trials with Lauren last year.
Yeah.
But everyone pushed me when my first director pulled out, and then the second director pulled out because they're booking roles and what have you, which is great. Maybe you should direct. I'm like, dude, I'm still getting my head around acting. You know what I mean? And I'm producing for the first time, and I'm running a crowdfunding. I've also had to source the whole wardrobe, basically. I also had assistant, but I did half of it. And then production design and all of that kind of stuff, plus catering. I think I'm out there cooking people food as well.
Yeah.
I can't fucking direct and come up with a shot list as well. I'm also working a full-time job. On the day, I need to be able to disconnect and chill whenever I can and focus on the role.
In respect to that is part of the learning curve. But the more I look, everybody's made up differently. But the way I operate and the way I see it and the way I've been taught, this is maybe stemming from Kerry Armstrong, who's one of my big mentors in acting and the industry. And she's still my acting coach now today. It comes down to, you think you can't do it, but you can.
But you can. Yeah.
And it's that question, don't have this question, you can't do it. You can do it all. Especially a short film, there's a great opportunity to do it all and to understand more things and learn and grow. And if you look at that more than the concept of the jungle of actually putting it together, to me that's more, it's still obviously story, but the thing is, you're learning all these things, how to manage frigging 20, 30 people on a low budget. Now, if you've got a big budget, the way you manage that budget will be
delegation.
From your experience in a short film, you'll be able to put, it'll work better, I think, more effectively, definitely, because you've done that sort of hard work, hard grounds, collaborating with all these people that, mixture of egos, all these things. It's challenging at first. And I remember I acted in a feature film in China, and we're working. This is what I did a short film for this guy in Melbourne. I did 2 short films, and he asked me to do a feature film, playing a fashion photographer. I was like,
"Oh, really?
Great, cool.
Oh, that's cool.
I'll jump on that." I didn't know too much about acting at that stage. I was training for about 4 years, but
this was your biggest role at that point.
Yeah, easily. And working with some great people, production crew like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon guys, the guys that shot that, they were shooting ours. One of the producers was involved. It was very independent production, but they were working. It's like crazy. We ended up doing it's longer than a day, but a 26-hour shift.
Oh, fuck.
Straight. And I was doing scenes where I was smoking 2 cigarettes in a scene, and I think we did 12 takes of that scene, practically in a row. But we weren't using fake cigarettes in China. Real cigarettes. Got nicotine poisoning. Had to bail from the production and got down this lift, went outside the hotel, started vomiting away from people. Anyway, I got back in, and then the next day, I think we worked an 18-hour day or something like this, and then the director wasn't sleeping. He was a young guy, a bit younger than me, very talented. But the pressure was getting to him. I'm not too sure. Long hours, maybe not sleeping, became really obnoxious, a bit rude, the way he was treating people.
Yeah.
And we'd been working.
Sleep deprivation will do that.
Yeah, and we'd been working these hours. Then people were like, the Australian crew were like, "No, we can't do this. We're going to protest. Not protest, or we're not going to."
Yes, we're going to go on strike.
Yeah. So we're
going to unionize this shit.
Unionize it, but we're in China. You can't do that.
No, that's what's a union?
Yeah. Yeah, no, but they work effectively and efficiently. It works for them. But and anyway, so this is what I'm trying to get at, his egos. I remember vividly, he was really rude to the actress, and she was and this comes probably lack of experience for him and maybe communication, sleep deprivation, maybe. But he's extremely rude to her, and she was doing vulnerable scenes and crying a lot. And so she's, after doing those scenes,
You're depleted.
Depleted, ultra sensitive, and he said something to her, and I was very like, I just was aware of it, and I was starting to like,
Get your protective nature in
there's a
there.
bit of fire starting.
Fuck you, buddy.
Yeah, a bit of fire starting, and then I got on the bus to go. We're going to a new location, and I just sat down in the seat, just jumped quickly in the seat. He's like, "No, you can't. You can't sit there. You got to go to, like, in a rude way. You go to the back or something like this." I was like,
Nah.
"Okay, no." I was like, "Oh, whatever."
Sure.
And then he said something else. No, and then he swore at me, and then I like, fuck this, I'm out. You know what I mean? Like I got out of the bus. He followed me. He said, because all the buses were ready to
Was
roll.
he Chinese?
He's Chinese,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh," swore at me a few times and said, "Get back in the bus. Who do you think you are?" Right? And I went up and grabbed him. I threw him up against the bus, and I acted as if I threw 3 punches in his face. I said, "Yeah, that was acting, but in real life, I could have punched you 3 times in the head. Don't ever speak to me like that ever again." And,
How old were you then?
How old? I was 20, 25, 26. No, sorry.
Can I imagine you were a lot taller than him too?
A little bit.
He's a
He
little
was quite tall. No, he was 6'1", but it was
Oh,
more
shit.
like the ego. His ego was letting himself get in the way of the project, and in short films,
Oh, it was a short film.
no, it's a feature film, but in
right.
short films, it can happen a lot. Is that everybody wants to do something, everyone wants to be someone, everyone wants to do this.
They're trying to have their print on their imprint on it. Yeah,
ego can get in the way, and I don't know, but it's part of the process of short film.
yeah. And that's the other thing that you learn as you go along. Is when you have one that goes smoothly, like so smoothly, that's a fucking gift.
Yeah, question.
Yeah, and it's but also you're like,
yeah,
that's rare, And if you have one of those out of the gate, you're like, oh, it's all going to be like this.
Yeah,
nah, it's not.
But it's something like the concept of fire out, sun's going down, we got one scene to shoot, let's all go,
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden you do something brilliant from it, and then the light changes around, the clouds change around, so something happens still. Do you know what I mean? Even if these problems happen, you can still gather some great things from
totally.
And which could put you under pressure to perform.
Because time is a factor.
And then you start maybe not out of body experience, but more something you push to your limit.
That sort of heightened level of, I don't want to say stress, but it's like adrenaline. Yeah. Where it's got to happen. I know you were talking about a 26-hour day. The first, I want to say it's the first short that I ever did, but it's definitely the first project I did when I got here. We were picked up at 7 a.m. and taken out to Yei. And the time we started shooting was like 3, and we shot till 5 that next morning. And it was pissing rain, and I'm out in the rain for half of these scenes, and then in this little shack, and I'm wrapped up in it. It wasn't even a blanket. I want to say it was like a fucking curtain, because that's all they had on, so like this. And for the most part, like, everyone was really, really great. But you do, like, you see it in the final scenes, because we shot it chronologically. So the final scenes are like 4:30 in the morning when you're absolutely fucked, and yet you're in this different, like, how am I still awake? Is everything, it's happening, but it's not happening, but it's super bizarre. And to Liam's credit, the director and writer, he was really cool with just having like a chat afterwards about, I know we went for 24 hours. Like, how do you feel about that? Where could I have tightened it up in terms of production and all this kind of stuff? And he was really, really great like that. Hence why I got him to write Lauren. But that doesn't happen all the time. So where to now with Spotwind?
Spotwind.
Is it out and about, or is it?
No, not yet. It's man, I'm hoping it's done in the next couple of weeks. So I'm just waiting for the editor to finish it off.
Yeah.
Post. But it's all ready. It's all ready to roll. We've done everything. It's just putting it all together now. And then we'll put it off to wherever it needs to go, festival wise. I don't want to put it in too many festivals. To me, it was like a lot of self-expression, and look, if it'd be like great to get rewarded around it all, but at the same time, it was a very cathartic
Yeah.
mission for me around that project. But I need to resolute it as well. So yeah,
Close that loop.
Close it.
Yeah.
And potentially might use that. There is a story true story down Phillip Island, coastal story that I'm looking at. There's also another film I've written called Northwind, which is a non-linear design where it's there's 3 stories, so each change of the wind direction, each southwest, a new story comes in, and then on the north wind, it's all the stories line
Right.
connect.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So it's, it's a bit of horse racing, surfer story, abalone divers story. I actually wrote that story before. I had really good traction, really good
Short or feature?
feature film.
Feature. Nice.
Before Atma, the Indian film.
Mhm.
So maybe 10 years ago I wrote that. 11 years, the first film I wrote.
And it's still there, still something you want to do.
It's still there, yeah. It's still there, and I'll revisit it probably next year.
Yeah, okay.
If I get back around it. But yeah, a lot of people really like that story, and it's just strange how where it all goes and things like that. But yeah, I think as you go on, you start having these stories there. Hopefully you pull them out at the right time.
Timing is so fucking critical, isn't it? Yeah, it really, really is, especially if you're writing something that I don't want to say the timing's off, because I don't think there's any wrong time to write a film or what have you. But, you hear about like Silence by Scorsese. I watched him in an interview. 20 years. He's been working on that. And 20 years ago in an interview, he was hoping to get that out later that year.
Yeah.
I was like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
Can you imagine sitting on something for 20 years and I was bummed to see that it didn't have critical success, and I haven't seen it. Not a huge Andrew Garfield fan, so I wasn't racing to see it. And then I heard it tanked. But then I feel like there's some sort of blogs running around and it's sort of the top of the list of 20 great films you think are shit that you should have seen type thing. So I will go back and see it because I love Liam Neeson and Scorsese, obviously. But and at the same time, I then selfishly apply that to the park and think, God damn it, I hope I can get this off the ground before then.
Yeah.
I would hate to be 60 by the time my film gets made. I can't play my character at 60.
Yeah,
I'll be the dad.
I can't believe it's been 9 years with the Indian film, 10 with Northwind. One, it really depends. One might move quicker, but Tarantino always talks like he's got a catalogue of films, scripts he's written that have been hanging there for 10 years. So you hear all these stories, but then with my strategy towards India, so I developed like a business plan around originally for India, and I raised finance through that. And so I did a quite SWOT analysis, I suppose, of the industry, and we also looked at how films were made in terms of pre-production, production, post-production, time, things like this. And in India, they churn them out really quick. And compared to, say, a Western film, they spend a lot more time in development. In India, they spend more time in production. Because probably less possible to make it, but they develop things really quick.
Right.
And because a lot of it's about momentum as well. Like you get this momentum, you got to keep that momentum going and keep it flowing, and you're meeting people. And
if you stop, people can separate and then get caught by other things, and then it fucking falls apart.
Yeah, and like for the Indian film, I had $12 million in the can, and then that's fallen off last year, and you hear other stories of similar stories. You get this money in it, and then something happens and it all crashes. But it's about that recovery, I suppose, and getting back on that.
Just to keep going.
And I look at it as, okay, completely lost the whole momentum of the film. I could just give it up now. Or not give it up, but just put it to bed for a while. But maybe look at it a bit differently, re-strategize it, build the momentum, and then move forward again,
Yeah, well, I was listening to this is what I always find so fascinating, listening to Rob Zombie on Joe Rogan's podcast the other day, and he was talking about films that he hasn't been able to get off the ground.
Right.
I'm like, how can you not get it off the ground? Like, oh, it just wouldn't go anywhere, and I'm thinking, you're a millionaire.
Yeah.
Surely. You've been excessively successful.
Yeah.
How can you not get a film? If you want a film to get off the ground, surely you can just strip it right back and make the fucking thing.
Yeah.
But that must be the hurdle, is not wanting to put your own cash into it.
Well, I think the hurdle is also, if he's got the money, maybe why he's not going forward is because I think when you speak to people about it, you show them the script and you get a good feeling, a good, feedback. That also keeps it going. If you're not getting connections, not getting people attracted to the story,
they're like,
well, the park's great concept. It's good and it's got a message, so it appeals to people straight away. You know what I mean? And then as long as you get the story right, and then you can get the actors or whoever you want to put on board.
Yep.
And then that's part of the ingredient. Then you have to sell the distribution.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. I hope that is the case. I really feel like it would be nice. Not nice. Nice isn't the right word. I think it could be powerful to put a cinematic touch on this story.
Yep.
With all the cognitive elements you need for great storytelling to bring in a wide audience.
Yep.
I've said this a million times that documentaries typically only preach to the converted and terrify and put off the people who they think, oh, rhino poaching, I know what that's going to entail. I don't want to watch that.
Yeah.
I don't even want to know.
Yeah.
Because then I have to do something.
Yeah.
But if you can get sort of, what's the word I'm looking for?
First letter.
Swayed by like a trailer of a huge sweeping sort of tale story that's got all the romances and actions, but about this real thing, you're more enticed to, and some people would probably even not know what they are watching, just if the right people involved were in it, and then be like, oh fuck, I never realized. That's a big objective for the film, is to convert people to the cause.
I think a really good opportunity there was a social moral issue, and my suggestion for you, and this is only a suggestion, and maybe through my learning curve.
Whoa, man, whoa! Just keep your suggestions to yourself, okay?
No.
Please, I want to hear it.
I know that inner voice, crazy. But look, you got the script there. Anthony Sharp, he does great media kits. Like, I'd hold off with the trailer or anything like that for a bit.
Yeah.
I'd get a strong media kit involved with some really strong images and what you're trying to do. Maybe a budget sort of working towards. Hard to work out a budget.
Yes.
Without knowing what act is going to come on board that's above line cost.
Mm-hmm.
But you can sort of get a below line cost, and you get a rough sort of
of what it would cost to make minus the actors.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you can look at, and if you have a really strong, in a way, because each film, and what I've learned, is a company. So if you look at it as a company, who you recruit onto that company, the better the company's going to be.
Right.
And so you build the company, build the network, that you're trying to bring into that story.
Right. The family.
The family and the journey. And then, from that, and I think you've got a really good option. And then you might be able to get some seed funding to start pushing things forward. If, you do pass it on these people, and then you got everything prepared, you got everything ready, and they're like, oh, no, I do have a medical. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that.
I got the script. I got this medical.
Well, that's just,
They want to pass it on to investor, which is great, or with foundation, which could be quite clever, is the tax law. And this week, you get creative tax as well. For investors, most of the time,
the charitable offset. Yeah,
charitable offset. All these things come into play, and then you got offsets of film where you're going to make that. Whether you look at post production in Australia, and a lot of people don't access post production.
Yeah.
Should Africa or whatever.
Well, that's the thought, is that it would probably be cheaper and more beneficial to the film, plus a recruitment opportunity in terms of all the crew being native to where the story's being told, and try and discover some African actors and actresses that aren't being touched because they're not in the States or they're not in London or here. All those are definitely going to come into the pitch, 100%. And hopefully the lead actor, me, being, as long as I can put food on the table, you got me. You know what I mean? I'm not going to charge you. Like, just put me in the hot seat.
Yeah.
There's all those financial benefits there.
It's really difficult. I find difficulty that I find. Sometimes writing. In Australia,
which is what this podcast is all about.
Yeah.
Is us who have to develop our own projects for sure.
Yeah, there's limited opportunities. So create your own opportunities, which you're doing. You're being inventive in creating stories, domain to acting, positive messages, and all this jazz. And so I think that's the importance around that. What was I talking about then? We lost the moment.
We were just talking about the objective of creating your own content and wanting to be the lead actor.
Lead actor. Yes. So I always have a funny relationship with that because I have a directing head as well, acting head, writing head, producing head.
I know, and it's like, but are you sacrificing? Are you going to sabotage the film by holding on to this too tightly? And can you let? I'm happy to play the supporting character. Yeah. Hopefully the powers to be never hear this part of the podcast when I go into bargain.
Yeah.
But I've written both those characters to be both sides of me.
Yeah.
So in the event that happens, I could slot into him and no dramas.
Yeah.
I prefer to be the lead because who doesn't?
But my always belief is like, see, the thing is you'll be probably selling it to other actors yourself, that story. So they'll straight away look at you and go, can I work? Or do I want to work? All these things. If you've got those other actors attached, then the investors won't be such a big concern. But my idea of acting in products I want to make and develop is that I'm really passionate about that character, is that they'll have to knock me off first. You know what I mean? They have to bring someone in really, really good
before I get knocked off. Yeah.
But I'm happy to be knocked off
for the right story. Yeah.
It's best for the story, but it's going to take some fighting to get me off. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the conversation that's been had. Like being honest. If they said, "Listen, we'd love to put Tom Hardy in that role," done. Yeah. As long as I get a scene where they won't give a fuck, you know what I mean? 100%. Yeah, of course, of course.
And it's hard. Look, there's so much work into it. You really want to do that for your career, but it's sometimes
it's what's best for the film.
Whatever is best for that film, what is best for that character. But if you've written it, you could play that character really well. The trust.
That's right.
Yeah. And don't let anybody knock you off that.
No, that's not going to happen. Yeah. I had a recent conversation with, I won't say who because we're doing stuff together, but where they came to me and said, "Hey man, let's do this thing together." And I just said straight from the get-go, I'm 38 now and I've had enough experience to say, yes, but these are the things that I will do and these are the things that I won't do. 100%. If that doesn't work for you, I'm actually really good if we don't. And they were like, that works for me.
Yeah.
That's a much better way to be. And on that note, thank you very much for coming down, man.
Good, mate.
I really appreciate it.
I feel like I could chat for years now.
You
kept on going. You got me on a roll.
I know. And I've got to go to a kid's birthday party. I'm surprised that Eric hasn't come around doing this one.
No, it's good, man. No, I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Here today on these nice chairs.
Is it comfy? It's not that comfy, is it?
No,
it's all right. Yeah. Well, we've got more to talk about, so I'm sure you'll be back on the podcast in the near future.
Cool.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah. Catch ya.